And welcome everybody to the Daily Space Weather. We've got a little bit of a solar uptick happening here. A new old sunspot showing up. Sunspot 3131 in the upper left corner. You can see it up there. We'll be covering that. Coronal mass ejections and lots more as we do on the daily here at the Smash News Network. Least busted name in news. So looking up there in the upper left corner there, the northeastern quadrant, you'll see sunspot 3131. And it is quite large. It's got multiple umbrae around it there. It's definitely beta gamma class, and we may have more named sunspot groups as well. You can see the size of that quite large umbra there moving in. Also some decent sunspot groups in the southern hemisphere. A new one forming right here in the past 24 hours. So, again, it is a solar uptick. Here's your colorized magnetogram. And we'll show you more on that a little bit later in the video. First, let's go over volcanoes. Shivaluch continues to erupt and produce a 12,000-foot ash plume. It's a flight level 120 over Shivaluch. This here is a Alade volcano, as we see some Strombolian activity and effusive eruptions as well happening there. Lava sliding down the slopes of Alade. It's also produced about a 3.7 kilometer plume of volcanic ash, somewhere around a flight level 120 also. Suinosejima, flight level 060, 6,000-foot ash plume. Krakatoa now showing up back on the list. Krakatoa, discrete eruption with a 10,000-foot ash plume. I don't see what's discrete about a 10,000-foot ash plume, but continuing on to Popocatépetl in central Mexico. Also exploding, 20,000-foot ash plume there. 16,000-foot ash plume from Fuego over Guatemala. Flight level 160, flight level 200 over Sangay. Flight level 150 over Revenador. It's a 15,000-foot plume of volcanic ash. Please do not pole vault the caldera. Sabancaya, weak emissions. No indication of any ash plume there. Intense Strombolian activity at the central Chilean volcano Villarrica. And let's continue on to earthquakes. There's the last 90 days of seismicity from volcanodiscovery.com's convenient bar graph. Largest quake of the past 24 was this 6.3 near the South Sandwich Islands. Probably not likely felt by very many people, as it was at 81 kilometers estimated depth. But that was the location of that. 6.3 magnitude quake. It came in at 13:02 Universal Time yesterday afternoon. It's been a very low number of earthquakes over the past 24 hours. Is it the calm before the earthquake storm? Let us know in the comments what you think. There was a 5.4 at the Philippines. There was a 5.1 at the Solomon Islands. A very low number of earthquakes here showing up in the list, though. Northern Mariana Islands also saw a 5.3. Oh, my mistake. It wasn't a 1302. It was 0 dark 13. So it came in just after midnight this morning on the 25th. That 6.3 magnitude quake there near the South Sandwich Islands again came in at 0 dark 13. That's 13 minutes after 0 hour Universal Time. A couple quakes there at the Recanes Ridge also. None of a large magnitude. Let's continue on. Again, a very low number of earthquakes over the past 24 hours. So here's some more stellar imagery. And thanks for stargazing with us. Thanks for leaving a comment. Tinman1057, good morning to you as well. Some splentacular imagery there, and let's zoom out. That's the last 24 hours from SDO. the extreme ultraviolet spectrum in 171 angstroms and 1700 angstroms. Again, we have seen an uptick here, the 10.7 centimeter radial flux now back up to 115 solar flux units. There is the 1-year graph to put that in context. The red line below it is a sunspot number. They are proportional variables here in solar activity. You can see if you look at the red line versus the black line, you can see how proportional they are. The 10.7 centimeter radial flux, one of two main features to monitor solar activity. So taking a look at the Space Weather Enthusiast dashboard here, just to sort of put things in perspective on a yearly and multi-yearly basis, we are looking at solar activity here that's a solid year, a little over a year ahead of schedule, because the predicted value for the moment is about, I don't know, 94, 91, 93 solar flux units for the 10.7 centimeter radial flux, and we're at, well, a monthly value 134. And for sunspot number, projected value is 51.6, and we're at nearly 100 sunspots for the monthly value. So way ahead of schedule here. Most forecasters were expecting a much weaker solar cycle for solar cycle 25. Doesn't look like it's happening. Now, Space Weather Enthusiast dashboard also does not seem to agree with the coronal mass ejection strike that we forecasted. And NOAA often disagreeing with some forecasts. Sometimes we're right, sometimes we're wrong, sometimes NOAA's right, and sometimes NOAA's wrong. But anyway, there's the forecast. The NOAA forecast. Again, we are expecting a CME strike in the next day and a half. It'll probably be pretty minor. It was quite a diffuse CME, but we'll be looking for a signal there late in the day on the 26th, early in the day on the 27th. Next, Earth geospace for the past 4 hours. As we see a coronal hole wind stream calming down. Calm conditions around the Earth here. That's magnetohydrodynamic pressure modeled by that. And we're going to see an equilibration of the plasma pressure, the magnetohydrodynamic pressure, I should say. Next, ground magnetic perturbations for the past 4 hours. Not a lot of changes going on to Earth's B field at the moment here. That's geospace delta B. Nanotesla, if you're wondering, that's magnetic flux density. KP index here just barely above 1. 1.33 is the planetary K index. Again, geomagnetic calm conditions. Real-time solar wind showing us a decline in the solar wind speed. And a little decline in the density as well. At this time, we're only seeing the Discover's data. You can see that blue line down there at the bottom, indicating that the Discover is the active spacecraft here measuring the solar wind. Solar wind density about 4.6 protons per cubic centimeter. Solar wind speed 427 kilometers per second. GOES magnetometer here showing some low highs and low lows over the past 24 hours. Those measurements by the GOES 16 and GOES 17 in their high altitude geosynchronous orbit. They orbit at about 22,000 miles. Next, looking at the heliospheric current sheet. Again, we may see a south pole current sheet showing up over here somewhere in the east. We'll be keeping an eye on it. When I say eye on, well, pardon the pun. So don't be surprised to see a south pole current sheet popping through over there. We've got some massive sunspots rotating in the northeastern quadrant. Here's a line of sight plot. Solar magnetogram depicted there, solar polar fields in red and green, solar B field in blue. And let's move to coronal holes. One of the most important features of a solar cycle is the solar polar field reversal cycle. It's not just sunspots, folks. It's the fields reversing. So we see these north pole-oriented coronal holes here rotating in the eastern portion. Some of those are indeed trans-equatorial. We can expect a high-speed wind from those in about 4 to 5 days. There's the SDO 211 angstroms wavelength for the past 24 hours. Next thing we'll move to is sunspots. Again, we will have a rather large uptick here in sunspot number. Can expect to see the radio flux to increase and the X-ray flux to increase. Sunspot 3131 is definitely large, and it's about to be in charge. Again, I believe there are some additional sunspot groups that will get named around it, at least one more sunspot group, I think. Also, we can expect 3132 to be named right here, I believe it is. That's sunspot having just recently formed in the past 24 hours. So we'll have a few more named groups. Sunspot number will increase. Here's 171 angstroms for the past 24 hours. As we show you the most detailed imagery anywhere of the closest star, as well as the most comprehensive space weather you'll find in the known universe. Some more views to look at sunspots. The SDO magnetogram for the past 24 hours. You can see multiple fields there rotating in the northeast. Here is the SDO intensitygram. 3132 forming here in the past 24 hours. And let's take a close-up look at 3131. I think we're going to have 3133 and 3134. That group back there, that's definitely a different sunspot group. So again, a big uptick happening here in the sunspot number. You can expect the radio flux and the X-ray flux both to increase. Likelihood of solar flares goes up as well. There's the proton flux, no relativistic particles showing up. There's the X-ray flux. Again, expect an increase in this. We've got some sunspot groups setting in the southwest and some rising in the northeast at the same time. Most of the flaring has come from the southwest at the moment. Those groups in the northeast have been mostly quiet here. There's the past 24 and 94 angstroms. And we'll also include some additional composites. Here's 1600 angstroms plus 131. That's ionized carbon plus ionized iron. The 1600 angstroms is the ionized carbon. 131 is one of the many species of ionized iron covered by the SDO. Lots of stuff going on the surface of that star. That's why we cover it daily. Next, a star chart. If you're up before dawn, you might see Mars near the apex of the ecliptic, depending on where you're located. That blue line is the galactic plane. The yellow line is the ecliptic. Pretty dark skies here at the moment, as it is, I believe it's new moon. Hey, happy new moon to all my reverse werewolves who are sleeping well, being productive, happy members of society, not cannibalizing people, and being generally good. Let's do a solar system forecast. That's where things will be in a week. On November 1st. How time flies. By the way, if you haven't checked out the products, today's featured product is Mensa. I'm wearing the hat. It stands for Make Earth Not Suck Again. It's up to you, Earthlings, to make Earth not suck again. So, act local and think global. Help us out since we make just this side of nothing to put the content on YouTube. Give Smash staff a raise by picking up some merch. Tell your friends and foes about the content. Maybe start a conversation. How can you make Earth not suck again? Think about it. I'll bet there's something you can do to make Earth suck less. For our international viewers, making Earth not suck again is no joke. Part of it is making America not suck again. We're into both things. As terrible decisions have been made across the board. By the way, you can find the links below the video to our merch shop and get 30% off of everything at Redbubble. At the biggest sale of the season, our products will be ordered in the order of best selling. If you click that link, you'll also find the link on the homepage at smashomash.com. Congratulations on surviving global democide. So far. Forgive, remember, and hold accountable. So visit the homepage to find our links. We're excited about our latest link there, the one from Hemp Lucid. We'll get to it. And welcome to the Neo-Renaissance. Congratulations on realizing the channel exists, despite the pathetic and sickening censorship by big tech, as it colludes with various other organizations like the White House to censor what you're able to see and your reach. Yes, it's called a shadow ban, first described in the year 2011 by Eric Schmidt to Business Insider before the term shadow ban even existed. That article has since been scrubbed from the internet. I wonder why. When will big tech stop misleading investors? When will their boards be in prison? When will their share prices drop to $0.000001 per share? We're waiting for that to happen, as accountability always comes. That Hemp Lucid link right there will link you to this page right here, our Hemp Lucid shop. So check it out if you're into CBDs. They've got lip balm, they've got tinctures, they've got gel caps, and they've got gummies. If you want to read what the experts say, click the link. Again, you can find it on the homepage as well as below this video. Those gummy cubes are quite potent. We'll make another video about those coming soon. Check out our latest video, by the way, our latest product review video. You can find a playlist on the YouTube page. If you want to support the channel via subscription services, you'll get a little extra content by being a Gold or Silver Smash Team member. Again, you can find the links on the homepage as well as below the video. Links to the Smash-O merch as well as links to SureMed. Yes, SureMed. It's not insurance. It's an association membership with the American Better Health Organization. If you want to improve your health, so does the American Better Health Organization, DBA SureMed. It'll open you up to being able to purchase group insurance with zero underwriting, by the way. Yeah, no health questions. You just need a SureMed membership. That'll make you part of the group. And then you'll be able to buy things like, life insurance, critical illness insurance, hospital insurance. It's worth it just for the doctors by phone and the pharmacy discounts. Pick up a SureMed base membership or perhaps a plus membership to add accident insurance. It's a great idea for cyclists. And the plus membership is only $30 a month. So check it out. Links below the video and on the homepage at smashomash.com to our SureMed site. Drop me a line if you like. If you've got questions, I can enroll you right over the phone. Or you can use my link. Thanks to our YouTube subscribers for tolerating the pathetic censorship on the platform for the past 5+ years. Again, don't forget to check out our review of the Hemp Lucid products. We show multiple different products there in that video. Shout out to Hemp Lucid. Our latest sponsor/affiliate. Again, check the links. Check our playlists. You'll find product reviews as well as smashomash.org presents The Sun and lots more. Check out the Diamond Anvil Too Hard to Smash if you haven't seen it. Interesting conversations that go on for a long time. Press like, press subscribe, press share, leave a comment, tell your friends and foes about the channel. And let's get back to space. Here are our Coronagraph images. We do have some CMEs here. 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 We do have some Are they earthly directed? If they are, they're diffuse. That's yesterday. That's 87 frames from yesterday, 1024. And here are today's frames, 1025, 33 more frames. I don't think there are any new CMEs that are earthly directed here. Again, we are expecting a minor strike in the next about day and a half. Let's take a look at stereo A, whatever it's got. It's located here at Lagrangian 0.5, out here, chasing the Earth, but seeing space weather ahead, hence the term stereo A for ahead. Soho Lasco C3 located here at Lagrange 1. And there is the imagery. Huge plasma plume here. Looks like it might have actually ejected there sometime early in the day yesterday. We don't see any definitive indications that there are additional Earth-directed CMEs. However, I do still think there's one on the way, so we'll be looking for that signal in the next day and a half. Besides that, things pretty chill as far as CMEs. Don't be surprised to see one. Remember, folks, our regular viewers are probably well aware that CMEs, coronal mass ejections, can occur with zero sunspots and zero solar flares, as we covered a number of them and figured out how to predict them all the way back at the last solar minimum, which occurred around November of 2019. By the way, there could actually be one kicking off as we stream the video here, because you can see a little bit of plasma starting to stick out there. And for new viewers, from the perspective of stereo A, Earth would be off in this orientation. It would be behind you from the perspective of the Soho Lasco C3. By the way, what we're viewing here is the Integrated Space Weather Analysis Center, if you're wondering. All kinds of great features there if you want to look those up. The ISWA, the Integrated Space Weather Analysis page. Next, the last 24 hours here, SDO 304 angstroms plus Soho Lasco C2 and C3. A great view of Venus there as it continues around the far side of the sun. And let's zoom out here to show a little bit larger field of view. There do appear to be some particles striking the aperture here, but no major coronal mass ejections apparently earthly directed. Let's continue on. There's plenty more to cover. Next, looking at the possibility of filaments here from El Teide, Spain. There are some huge prominences, as you can see on those coronagraph images. Some filaments in the southern hemisphere down here, and some up here ahead of sunspot 3131. Wait, 3131? Yeah, 3131. That's what it's called. All right. Let's check out the wide field of view from the Go 16 SUVi. It's good enough to stream all day on the Twitch channel, twitch.tv/SmashOmash. Install the mobile app if you haven't seen it. Check it out. It's fantastic. It'll actually alert you when we go live. Unlike certain junkware apps that can barely even function on their best day. Not mentioning any names. That's the last about 2.5 hours there from the Go 16 SUVi. Ionized helium wavelength there, 304 angstroms. And of course, the difference between it and the SDO is the SDO has a narrower field of view, but a higher resolution. So there's the last 24 hours from SDO in the same wavelength. Crown prominence continuing up there in the northern hemisphere. We still do see the north solar polar field somewhat fixated up there. You can see this coronal hole still hanging out at the North Pole. We are still waiting for this solar cycle to get fully underway. It's not fully underway yet because the North Solar Polar Field is still hanging out at the north heliographic pole. Next, we're into bonus features. Charging hazards are non-existent. It's smooth sailing for satellites at the moment. There is the GOES electron flux measured by the GOES 16 and 17 using radiography from their geosynchronous orbits. Still low levels of electron flux here, and we can expect an uptick. NOAA would tend to agree. There is the NOAA forecast there for relativistic electrons. There's the one-year graph to put it in context. Again, quite low levels here, expecting an uptick coming soon. Next, we'll look at the F ionosphere, one slice of the atmosphere. It's the bridge between Earth and space in vibrational frequency. Here's the data from Australian Government Bureau of Meteorology. Still seeing quite a few low-frequency anomalies here, not quite as many as we have been covering. Here's the anomalygram. That's anomaly in megahertz from a 30-day median. And if you're wondering why we're showing this, it's because we discovered that there's a lot of nonsense about space weather on the internet, and we realized that there's a huge niche to be filled with facts. So that's why we created the channel, because we realized nobody was covering what I wanted to see covered. As we prefer for our viewers to understand the physics and not to be alarmed about things that aren't scary in any way. But this is what's going on in the bridge between Earth and space. There's the latest image, 10:30 Universal Time. And let's continue on to the electron flux. The total electron content forecast shows the electrons between your GPS satellite and your handset. It's located about 12,500 miles. About 12.5 thousand miles of altitude is your GPS satellite. Here are the free electrons between it and your handset. And we're seeing quite low levels of electron content here. Some electrons there a little bit out of place. Look at the low levels of electron content there at the beginning of the run. Midday yesterday. And some significant anomalies there over North America once again. We can expect this to get a little bit more organized as the electron flux rises. That's typically what we see. Next, latest intensitygram and latest colorized magnetogram. Sunspot number rising, radio flux rising, solar activity in general rising. So this sunspot is the main flare producer for the past 24 hours. It's beta gamma class. And this group up here is just full of umbrae. So we'll have at least two more named sunspot groups. These are both beta gamma class. This one here looks like it's still alpha class. It could be developing. There are the fields. And again, with all of this comes a higher level of X-ray flux, a higher radio flux, and a higher likelihood of large solar flares. We'll close out the space weather portion of the video with this composite. That's SDO 211304 and 171 angstroms. And it's time to move to the realm of meteorology. We'll cover more facts. We'll talk about things like sea surface temperature anomalies, and thanks for leaving a comment, Mike Bordages. First thing we're going to view is the sun rising over the Atlantic. Yes. For all of you people who think that's CGI, I would just like to state that all digital photography is CGI. If you're viewing photographs using film, you're looking at chemical photography as the photons interact with chemicals on the film to produce the image. This is computers charge couple devices producing the image, which is indeed CGI. So next we're looking at sea surface temperature anomalies and ocean currents. And yes, I'm not fixated on cold water or warm water, but there it is. So lots of hot water there around Oceania and around the northern Pacific, and lots of cold water around the central and southern Pacific. There's the Indian Ocean, which is primarily anomalously cold, except for down here, where it's got some anomalously warm water. There's the Southern Ocean. How about the Arctic? Did you know that you're living in an ice age? Yes, it is currently an ice age, folks. It's been a long time, like 8,000 years, since the North Pole was not frozen. And when the planet has ice caps on both poles year-round, that is the definition of an ice age. Yes, I know, it's crazy. Oh my God. Did you know that Antarctica formed, the ice sheets on Antarctica formed when it was 3 degrees Celsius warmer than it is now? Yeah. If you're worried about the Antarctican ice sheets melting, they formed when it was 3 degrees warmer than it is right now, about 33 million years ago. Anyway, there's the Gulf Stream. It's still making it to Europe. And Europe not expecting to see a year without a summer. They certainly didn't see one this past year, for all of those folks out there that were predicting it. How did that work out? Are you going to admit your failures? I didn't think so. Here are the surface winds of the eastern world. Here are the jet streams of the eastern world. Huge bends there in the jet stream in the North Pacific. Here are the jet streams of the Americas. Huge bends in the jet stream there over the Caribbean. Some cold air making it all the way down to Central America, really. Cuba, it's a cold day in Cuba. Here are the surface winds of the West. Windy times over Baffin Bay. Here are the surface winds of the central world. And last but not least, the jet streams. So we're going to show you some weather.gov maps. Check it out. Hard freeze warnings there in parts of New Mexico, and freeze warnings all around Colorado, Texas, Arizona, and Utah. Some winter weather advisories there in Washington, Montana, Wyoming, Idaho, and Oregon. If your county's lit, click your county. Looks like some windy conditions there in the southern portion of Lake Michigan. So here comes some forecast. This is your temperature anomaly forecast. We're going to have some wild swings of temperature here, some warm weather coming to the northeast, and some cold temperatures descending through the Rockies. Exceedingly cold there, like 20 degrees Celsius below normal in some concentrated zones. That's your 72-hour GFS temperature anomaly forecast in degrees Celsius. Here's your pressure and precipitation forecast as additional heavy snows continue to show up. Wet snows there in Washington. Also Montana, Idaho, Wyoming, Colorado, New Mexico, and more. Very strong storms expected to develop here around Oklahoma, Missouri, and then move up to the northeast as they dissipate. So expect some extreme weather there in Arkansas, Missouri, Illinois. Going to be some very strong storms there. That could be tornadic activity indeed. A very powerful low pressure there about to form, mainly over Missouri, Arkansas, Oklahoma. 72-hour GFS pressure and precipitation forecast is what you're looking at. Next, looking at snow depth. Now we're going to look at the Euro model for snow depth, since there's additional snow expected. Let's see what happens. There's the 3-day forecast based on the Euro model. So quite a bit of snow there, blanketing the northwest. Next, your NASA GOES lightning map. We're in some very heavy lightning there over East Texas especially. Very heavy lightning. And let's see what's going on at the moment with our real-time lightning map here, courtesy of lightningmaps.org. Next time you hear thunder, check it out. I don't think we got no terrestrial strikes. We ain't got none. Some African and European lightning, some lightning in the Middle East, some lightning in the Pacific Ocean, and some lightning off the coast of North Carolina. Sporadic. Here is your U.S. Doppler radar map. Press refresh there to animate that. Great animated Doppler radar map there of AUSA, the allegedly United States of America. We'll focus on the lower 48 and we'll show you the shortwave radiation map. There's clouds and fog. You can see that counterclockwise rotating low pressure system here forming over Oklahoma as we speak. The water vapor map will show you that as well. And here's your recap to close things out. I'm told there's a lunar eclipse happening. We are unable to see it here. It is cloudy over the Lehigh Valley. So there is your U.S. Doppler radar map. There is the clouds and fog depicted by the 3.9 nanometer infrared radiation satellite. And oh, and by the way, hey, flat earthers, look over here. You see that? Curvature. Yeah, curvature. This video not sponsored by Adobe. And last but not least, water vapor. That should clear things up for you. If your Doppler was not giving you the full photo, hopefully that will help things out. Hopefully you understand atmospheric physics. Hopefully you're not listening to too much nonsense on YouTube. Hopefully you haven't joined a cult. But in any case, thanks for tuning in. I've been your host, Dan, a.k.a. Smash-O-Mash, signing off, and may that solar wind be at your back. Opinions expressed in this video are not necessarily the opinions of Smash News Network, least busted name in news.